Hello everyone, welcome back to Ninetale Hobbies. This one, we're going to give some life to those useless sprues that have been sitting around. We're going to make 3 different kinds of sprue shelves. These are kind of inspired by Bix's Garage, if you've seen Andor, or if you've gone to a junkyard and just seen those giant towering shelves just full of stuff. So what you want to do first is find some sprues that are similar or identical to each other. Of course, you want to clip, clean them up. You want to measure, see if they're an approximate length to each other. Otherwise, you're going to get some wobbles. And after you've cut your first one, you just want to come in and match it up. Use it as a template for your next one. And then we start making the shelves themselves. I made mine out of plastic card, but you can use chipboard, whatever you've got on hand, really. I like to get just a general size holding up the sprue. Of course, I'm going to come in and test it and make sure that it's actually going to fit the way I want to. And then, of course, you can just modify as needed. And I wanted mine to fit the width as well as kind of inside so it would sit on the rail that I made from the sprue. So I did come in and cut out a small little notch. The first one that you make is what you want to use as your template. So they're all the same fill and size and everything. You don't want to make a copy of a copy. Don't forget to sand your card so that the paint will adhere as well. I came in and I used Tamiya cement on this, thinking that it would hold. I found out later that that was not the case, something to do with the plastic card. Just didn't want to adhere. I did come in with my angle to make sure that everything was true and square. And then after I had assembled everything, I got long straight pieces, clipped those down because I wanted braces so the shelf wouldn't wobble back and forth, be a little bit stronger. Clip those down, cleaned them up, and then cut them at an angle so that they would sit correctly on the back. And like I said, test your glue. I ended up using super glue, CA glue for the rest of this. No problems whatsoever. I did use some accelerator, zip kicker to get it going. And that's the first one. Looks pretty solid. The second one, very similar process. Come in, measure your shelves, cut your pieces down. These are some sprues from Bolt Action from a commission I had done. And I just trim these out so that they have small little pegs for the shelves to sit on instead of rails. But the shelves themselves ended up getting rails, which I came in. I measured the shelf that I was going to use, length, marked them, trimmed them, cut them down, then glued them onto the bottom of the shelf. I thought it would give a better aesthetic to the whole piece, but it ended up actually reinforcing shelf itself and gave it quite a bit more stability. And then used the exact same assembly method as I had on the previous one. Even better than the first one. I like this. So the last one is a mixture of the 2 previous methods put together. We're going to use rails to hold the shelves on. These are sprues from Star Wars Legion. We measure our shelves, cut rails for the shelves to give them some strength. And then we mount the rails. And these ended up being my favorite iteration, and they also felt the sturdiest. So we go on to the paint, and I used an airbrush, but you can use a rattle can, no problem. And I did use 3 different painting methods. These are for my junk board, but you can paint these a whole lot cleaner. I just use these particular methods. So the first one was just stippling with a large brush. If you've ever watched Bill making stuff or scratch bashing, they use these methods a lot. And this is just coming in with a dark gray and then a medium gray and a light gray on top of that. The more layers you build up, the more realistic or the idea is going to sell across from this. And once you've got all of your colors moved in, and as you build up layers, you'll cover more ground. The bottoms you can paint. I did mine just in case, just the edges, and then came in with some thin down rust effect. The joints, the corners is where you're going to get the most, and then if it's an uneven surface, it'll pull and start rusting a little more there. The second one, I did a nice solid base coat, and then once I got that established, I came in and did a sponging method. I just took a little bit of packing sponge, ripped it apart so it had a little bit more randomness to it, dabbed it in the paint, dabbed that onto my paper towel, and then just came in. And it's very similar to the stipple method. It's a little more random, and since this goes from a red to an orange, it gives a super rusty effect and just makes this look like this has been out here the longest out of any of the shelves. Probably my favorite of the three paint-wise. And then the last one, we're just going to do straight metallics. You don't see a lot of just straight up metallics in Legion, which is what I'm going to use this for, but I figured I'd give it a shot. So I came in with some Vallejo dull aluminum and then used their steel for the edges, and then used the rust and everything because, this has been out here for a long time and it's going to be super rusty. And then I pulled out my bucket of oil wash that I keep around specifically for terrain and just gave them a good bath. This is Payne's Gray. Let those dry. And this is it. I think these look really good for what I'm going for. Like I said, you could do a much cleaner method if you wanted a warehouse or something. The bits are from a frame arm set from Barnes & Noble. It's like knockoff Gundams. Thanks for coming and checking it out, and I'll catch you on the next one.